She signed away her soul for $10,000. Desperate, drowning in debt. One signature on a contract she couldn't read properly, and suddenly she belonged to something that shouldn't exist. Cale wasn't supposed to care. For 200 years, he'd collected souls without hesitation. 997 lives extinguished by his hands. 3 more, and he'd finally be free. But when he touched her, everything changed. A bond ignited between them. Forbidden. Impossible. The kind that could destroy them both. Now he has 30 days to consume her soul or lose his freedom forever. But there's a problem. The bond means killing her will shatter him completely. His father, an archdemon who designed this contract as a trap, is watching, waiting for Cale to break, waiting to see if he'll choose love or liberation. And as the days tick down, as the hunger grows unbearable, as Cale's control fractures between the angel begging to protect her and the demon screaming to possess her, they're running out of time to find the one thing that might save them both. A loophole that doesn't exist. In a system designed so the house always wins, where the only way out is through a choice so dangerous, so impossible, that it could rewrite the rules of demonic law itself, or condemn them to a fate worse than death. The eviction notice felt heavier than paper should. Lena's hands trembled as she read the same 3 words over and over. 30 days remaining. 30 days until she'd be on the street. 30 days until she became another statistic in a city that chewed people up and spit them out without blinking. She pressed her forehead against the cold bathroom mirror of the dive bar where she worked, mascara smudging under her eyes. The fluorescent light above flickered, casting shadows that made her look older than 26. Hollow. Her father's face flashed in her mind, gaunt, gray, hooked up to machines that beeped his life away one expensive second at a time. She'd promised him she'd be okay. She'd lied. "Lena, table 7 needs drinks 5 minutes ago." Marcus's voice cut through the bathroom door. She splashed water on her face, not caring that it ruined her makeup completely. What did it matter? The rent was 3 months overdue. The medical bills sat in a drawer at home, unopened, because seeing the numbers made her chest constrict until she couldn't breathe. Working 3 jobs still wasn't enough. It would never be enough. The bar was Thursday night busy. Not packed, but steady. Lena moved through the crowd on autopilot, smiling when required, deflecting unwanted touches with practiced ease. She'd perfected the art of being friendly without being available, present without being seen, invisible, safe, whiskey, neat. The voice made her pause mid-wipe of the bar counter. Deep, controlled, the kind of voice that didn't ask twice. She turned. The man sitting at the far end of the bar hadn't been there 30 seconds ago. She would have noticed. He wore a black suit that probably cost more than her car, tailored so precisely it looked painted on. Dark hair pushed back, sharp jawline, but it was his eyes that stopped her breath. Gray. Not blue-gray or green-gray. Pure silver gray, like storm clouds before lightning struck, and they were looking at her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "Coming right up," she managed, hating how her voice came out smaller than intended. As she poured, she felt his gaze tracking her movements, not leering, worse, assessing, like she was a problem he was calculating how to solve. "You're Lena Castellano," he said when she slid the glass across the bar. Her blood went cold. "Do I know you?" "No." He didn't touch the drink. "But I know you. 3 jobs, medical debt from your father's treatment, behind on rent, student loans you'll never pay off." His head tilted slightly. "You're drowning." Lena's hand went to her phone in her apron pocket. Panic button ready. "I don't know what kind of scam this is, but not a scam. An opportunity." He reached into his jacket, slowly, deliberately, and pulled out a single card. Cream-colored. Expensive. When he placed it on the bar, she saw embossed letters. Cale Sovereign. Acquisitions. "I represent a client who needs someone for a corporate event. One night, black tie. You'd play the role of companion, smile, make conversation. Nothing physical required. He paused. $10,000. The number hit her like a physical blow. 10,000. That would cover rent for 3 months. Buy groceries. Start chipping away at the medical bills. $10,000 for one night of pretending to be someone she wasn't. Why me? Her voice came out hoarse. You have the look they want. Approachable. Genuine. His eyes hadn't left hers. And you're desperate enough to say yes. The cruel honesty should have made her walk away. Instead, it rooted her in place because it was true. She was desperate. Drowning. Barely keeping her head above water while the current pulled her under inch by inch. What's the catch? Something flickered in his expression. Too fast to read. There's always a catch. But you'll sign the contract before you know what it is. That's insane. Yes. He stood, and she realized he was tall. 6'2", maybe more. Presence that made the air feel heavier. You have 48 hours to decide. My number's on the card. He left the whiskey untouched. Left her standing there with a piece of cardstock that felt like it was burning through her fingers. Lena stared at the card for the rest of her shift. Turned it over. Back again. The paper was thick. Real. The number was local. She told herself she wouldn't call. Told herself it was obviously too good to be true. Told herself a lot of things. At 3 a.m, alone in her apartment with the eviction notice on the table and her father's last voicemail playing on repeat. Be okay, baby girl. Promise me you'll be okay. She dialed the number. He answered on the first ring. Yes or no? I need details. The event. The client. Legal protections. You'll have a contract. Sign it, and the money transfers immediately. Half now, half after. $5,000. Tonight. She could see the deposit hitting her account. Could see the landlord's sneer wiping off his face. Could see herself not getting evicted, not losing the last piece of her father she had left. Where do I sign? Silence on the other end. Long enough that she wondered if he'd hung up. Then, I'll send a car. 1 hour. The line went dead. Lena sat in the dark of her apartment, phone pressed to her chest, heart hammering so hard she felt it in her throat. This was stupid. Reckless. Potentially dangerous. Everything her father had warned her about. But her father was dead, and she was so tired of drowning. The car arrived exactly 60 minutes later. Black sedan, tinted windows. The driver didn't speak, just handed her a tablet when she slid into the back seat. The contract was already loaded on screen. Pages and pages of legal jargon that made her eyes blur. She'd always struggled with reading. Letters rearranged themselves when she was stressed. Now, exhausted and terrified and desperate, the words might as well have been in another language. Her finger hovered over the signature line. Miss Castellano? The driver's voice was neutral. Mr. Sovereign is waiting. She signed. The money hit her account before they'd driven 3 blocks. $5,000. Real. Actually there. Lena wanted to feel relief. Instead, ice spread through her veins as the car pulled up to a building she didn't recognize. Sleek. Modern. No windows on the first 3 floors. Kyle was waiting in the lobby, and under the harsh LED lights, she finally saw him clearly. The gray eyes weren't just unusual. They caught the light wrong, reflecting it back like an animal's. His skin was too pale. Too perfect. And when he moved toward her, she swore the temperature dropped. The event is tomorrow night, he said, handing her a garment bag. Wear this. A car will collect you at 8. What did I just sign? The question came out as a whisper. His jaw tightened. For a moment, just a heartbeat, something like regret crossed his face. Then it was gone, replaced by cold neutrality. You signed away 1 month. Body and soul. Midnight to midnight for 30 days you belong to my client. He stepped closer, and she smelled ozone and something darker. Smoke. Starting now. The world tilted. Lena's knees buckled, but he caught her before she hit the floor. His hands were ice cold through her jacket. Unnaturally cold. "What are you?" she breathed. Cale's eyes flashed, not metaphorically, literally flashed like backlit silver. And when he spoke, his voice carried an echo that shouldn't exist in an empty lobby. "Your worst mistake." Lena woke up in her own bed, which somehow made it worse. For 3 disorienting seconds, she thought it had been a nightmare. The contract. The money. The man with eyes that reflected light like a predator's. Then she saw the garment bag hanging on her closet door, black and pristine, and her stomach dropped. Her phone showed 23 missed calls from the landlord. She ignored them all and opened her banking app with shaking hands. $5,000. Still there. Real money that had paid her rent for 2 months in a single electronic transfer at 4 a.m. "Blood money," whispered a voice in her head that sounded uncomfortably like her father's. She dragged herself to the shower, letting scalding water pound against her skull until her skin turned red. The bathroom mirror was fogged when she stepped out, but she could still see the outline of her reflection. Still human. Still herself. Whatever Kale had meant by body and soul, she was still here, still breathing. The rationalization felt hollow, even as she constructed it. Lena dressed for her day shift at the coffee shop, moving mechanically. Jeans, t-shirt. Sneakers that had holes in the soles she kept meaning to replace. Normal clothes for a normal day. Except nothing about today was normal, and the weight in her chest told her it never would be again. She made it halfway down the stairs of her building before she felt it. Someone was watching her. The street was empty. 7 a.m. on a Friday, most people still asleep. But the sensation crawled up her spine like fingers trailing ice. She walked faster. The feeling followed. By the time she reached the coffee shop 3 blocks away, her heart was hammering, and sweat soaked through her shirt despite the cold. "You look like hell," Marcus said when she stumbled through the employee entrance. Didn't sleep. Truth. She'd lain awake until dawn, staring at her ceiling, trying to remember the exact wording of the contract she'd signed. But the letters had swum and rearranged themselves in her memory until she couldn't be sure what had been real and what her exhausted brain had invented. The morning rush passed in a blur. Lena made lattes and smiled at customers and pretended her hands weren't shaking every time the door chimed. She was being paranoid, that was all. Lack of sleep and stress and... The door opened. Kyle walked in, and the temperature in the coffee shop dropped 5 degrees. He wore different clothes today. Charcoal suit, black shirt, no tie. But the same unsettling perfection. Not a hair out of place, not a wrinkle in the fabric. Like he'd been assembled rather than dressed. His eyes found hers immediately, and she watched 3 customers between them unconsciously step aside, clearing a path they didn't realize they were making. "We need to talk," he said when he reached the counter. "I'm working." "Not anymore." He glanced at Marcus, who'd frozen mid-pour. "She's taking a break." It wasn't a question. Marcus nodded like a puppet on strings and muttered something about covering her station. Lena wanted to argue, wanted to scream that she didn't take orders from strangers, but her body was already moving. Following Kale out the back door into the alley, away from witnesses. The door closed behind them with a finality that made her flinch. What did I actually sign? Her voice came out steadier than she felt. Kale leaned against the brick wall, and shadows seemed to gather around him despite the morning sunlight. A contract of acquisition. Standard demonic binding. He said it like he was discussing the weather. For 30 days, I can compel your presence within 10 meters of my location. You can't run, can't hide, can't tell anyone what you are. The words didn't make sense. Demonic. Binding. Compel. They were fantasy novel words, not real-life words. That's insane. Yes. His jaw tightened. It is. So let me go. Tear up the contract. I'll give back the money. It doesn't work that way. Something flickered in his expression. Pain, maybe, or anger. The contract is written in blood and signed in desperation. It can only be fulfilled or broken by death. Yours or mine. Lena's back hit the opposite wall. Her breath came in short gasps. This wasn't happening. Couldn't be happening. People didn't sell their souls in 21st century America. Magic wasn't real. Demons weren't real. Prove it, she whispered. Cale pushed off the wall and crossed the distance between them in 2 strides. He didn't touch her. Didn't need to. The temperature plummeted until she could see her breath fogging in the air. Then his eyes changed. The gray bled away, replaced by molten red that glowed from within. And his skin, God, his skin, became translucent enough that she could see things moving underneath. Black veins pulsing with darkness. But also threads of gold, fighting against the shadows, creating a war beneath the surface of him. I'm Nephilim, he said, voice layered with echoes that made her ears ring. Half angel, half demon. And you just sold yourself to my father's contract collection agency. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at the impossible things standing in front of her while her rational mind shattered into pieces. Then his appearance shifted back. Human again. Beautiful and terrible and wrong. I have 27 days to collect your soul, Cale continued, and there was something broken in his voice now. If I don't, I stay bound to my father for eternity. 997 souls collected. 3 left. You're number 998. Why are you telling me this? The question came out as a sob. Because you deserve to know what's coming. He looked away, jaw working. And because I'm trying to find a way out that doesn't end with me dragging you to hell. The confession hung between them like a live wire. Lena's mind raced through impossible options. Run. But he'd said she couldn't. Fight. But what could she do against something that wasn't human? Scream. But who would believe her? The contract, she said slowly. You said I had to understand it consciously. I didn't. I can't. I have dyslexia. The words don't. I didn't read it properly. Cale's head snapped toward her. His eyes widened. What? I can't read when I'm stressed. Letters rearrange. I signed it, but I didn't comprehend it. Doesn't that make it invalid? For 5 heartbeats, neither of them moved. Then Kyle laughed, but it was a broken, desperate sound. A technicality. He ran a hand through his hair, and she saw his fingers trembling. A goddamn technicality. It might, if I can prove it, it could void the contract. Hope flared in her chest, painful and sharp. But if I report it to my father, he'll send someone else. Someone who won't care about loopholes. Cale's red eyes met hers, and she saw genuine fear in them. Someone who'll collect you immediately. So what do we do? The question seemed to surprise him. We? You said you're trying to find a way out. So, find one. She pushed off the wall, legs shaking but holding. You have 30 days. Use them. I'd have to stay close to you. The contract binds me to monitor you until collection. His voice dropped. 10 meters, at all times. The implications hit her like cold water. You want to move into my apartment? It's the only way to research without alerting my father. To find a legitimate loophole that frees us both. He stepped closer, and she felt the cold radiating off him. But you need to understand what I am. What I'm fighting every second. Half of me wants to save you. The other half wants to consume you. Lena looked at the monster wearing a man's face and made a calculation that would either save her or destroy her. Then I guess we'd better hope the angel half wins. Cale moved into her apartment at sunset, carrying nothing but a leather bag that looked older than her grandmother. Lena watched from the kitchen as he stood in the center of her tiny living room, surveying the space with an expression she couldn't read. The apartment was a studio, barely 400 square feet with peeling paint and a radiator that clanked through the night. Her entire life fit in this box. Now she was sharing it with something that shouldn't exist. The couch folds out, she said, hating how her voice wavered. I don't sleep. He set the bag down carefully. Not the way you do. Of course you don't. She grabbed a beer from the fridge with shaking hands. Drank half of it in one pull. So what? You just stand there watching me all night like some creepy statue? I read. Research. He pulled a book from the bag. Massive. Bound in something that looked uncomfortably like skin. Demonic contract law hasn't changed in 3,000 years. But there are precedents. Cases where bindings were dissolved. How many of those cases ended with the human surviving? Cale's silence was answer enough. Lena finished the beer and immediately opened another. The alcohol did nothing to calm the tremor in her hands. I need to shower. Change. Pretend for 5 minutes that my life isn't completely fucked. 10 meters. He reminded her quietly. I'll stay by the door. The bathroom was barely 6 meters from the front door. She could feel him out there as she stripped and stepped under the weak spray. Feel his presence like pressure against her skin. The water ran cold after 2 minutes, but she stayed until her teeth chattered, needing the discomfort to prove this was real. When she emerged in sweatpants and an oversized shirt, Kyle hadn't moved. He stood exactly where she'd left him, book open in his hands, but his eyes tracked her movement across the room. Does it hurt? The question escaped before she could stop it. Does what hurt? Being two things at once. She sat on the edge of her bed, pulling her knees to her chest. Angel and demon. Does it hurt? Something shifted in his expression. Surprise, maybe. Like no one had ever asked him that before. Every second, he said finally. The angel side wants to protect, to redeem. The demon side wants to possess, to corrupt. They're constantly at war. He looked down at his hands, and she saw the veins beneath his skin pulse, gold fighting black. I've learned to control it. Mostly. Mostly? There are triggers, strong emotions, physical contact, blood. His eyes met hers, and they were doing that thing again, where the color shifted. Red bleeding into gray, bleeding into something that glowed. You should be afraid of me, Lena. The fact that you're not is either very brave or very stupid. I'm terrified, she admitted, but I'm also tired of running. Been doing that my whole life. Running from debt, from grief, from everything. She hugged her knees tighter. Maybe standing still is the only option left. Cale closed the book with a sound like thunder. You want to know what the contract actually says? The words you signed but didn't read? She nodded, throat tight. It says I own your body for 30 days. Can compel your presence, your actions, your voice. It says at the end of that period, I collect your soul through a marking ritual that will burn the humanity out of you and leave you a husk. He spoke clinically, but his jaw was clenched so hard she heard his teeth grind. It says you'll feel everything, every second of the consumption. And when it's done, you'll spend eternity in servitude to my father. The room spun. Lena pressed her forehead to her knees, breathing through her nose until the nausea passed. The dyslexia clause, she whispered. How do we prove it? Testimony, medical records, proof that you couldn't have comprehended the terms consciously. He moved closer, not touching, but near enough that the cold radiating from him raised goosebumps on her arms. But even if we prove it, my father will argue you signed of your own free will. That desperation doesn't negate consent. That's bullshit. That's demonic law. A muscle ticked in his jaw. They prey on desperation. Have for millennia. The system is designed so the house always wins. Lena looked up at him, this impossible creature standing in her apartment, and saw something she hadn't expected. Exhaustion, not physical. Something deeper. Soul deep. How many souls have you collected? 997. He said it like a confession. I remember every face, every name, every moment they realized what was happening. Do you want to stop? The question seemed to hit him like a physical blow. He took a step back, hand going to his chest like she'd stabbed him. Every day, he breathed. Every single day for 200 years. The number didn't compute. 200 years. He'd been doing this for 2 centuries, collecting souls, watching people die by his hand. And he was still fighting, still trying to find a way out. "Then help me find the loophole," she said. "Not just for me. For you." Kyle stared at her like she was speaking a language he'd forgotten. "Why would you help me? I'm the monster who's going to kill you. You're the monster who's trying not to." She stood, crossing the distance between them, even though every instinct screamed to run. That has to count for something. She was close enough now to see the war happening beneath his skin. Veins pulsing black, then gold, then black again. His breathing had gone shallow, controlled, like he was fighting himself with every breath. "Don't," he said, voice strained. "Don't come closer." "Why? What happens if I touch you?" "I don't know." His hands clenched into fists at his sides. "No one's tried. Not in 50 years. People feel what I am. They stay away." Lena thought about that. Thought about 200 years of isolation, of being a weapon his father wielded, of collecting souls while the angel half screamed inside him. She reached out slowly and placed her hand on his chest. The reaction was immediate and violent. Cale gasped, body going rigid. His skin under her palm burned ice cold, then scalding hot, then ice again. The veins lit up like circuitry, gold and black fighting for dominance, spreading from where she touched him. His eyes went wide, pupils blown, colors shifting so fast she couldn't track them. "I can feel you," he choked out. "Your heartbeat, your fear, your—" He grabbed her wrist, but didn't pull her hand away. His grip was gentle, despite the tremor running through him. "Something's wrong. The contract. It's reacting." Lena felt it too. A burning sensation in her chest, spreading outward. Not painful. Worse. It felt like recognition. Like something inside her was reaching toward something inside him. "What is this?" she whispered. "Mate bond." The words came out broken, horrified. "It shouldn't be possible. The contract should prevent it. But we're—" He yanked away from her, stumbling backward until he hit the wall. His breathing came in ragged gasps. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cold. "Get away from me," he said, but it sounded like a plea. "Lena, get away from me right now." She didn't move. Couldn't move. The burning in her chest had spread to her limbs, making her feel simultaneously more alive and more terrified than she'd ever been. What's a mate bond? Soul recognition. Angel magic. It means... He pressed his hands to his face, and she saw them shaking. "It means killing you will destroy me. Literally. If I collect your soul now, the bond will tear me apart." The implications crashed over her. "So you can't complete the contract?" "No." He looked at her through his fingers, eyes wild. "But my father can send someone else. Someone without a bond. Someone who'll rip you apart and laugh while doing it." They didn't sleep that night. Cale paced the length of the apartment like a caged animal, stopping every few minutes to press his palms against his eyes. The veins in his arms pulsed erratically, gold surging, then black swallowing it, an endless battle playing out beneath translucent skin. Lena sat on her bed, legs crossed, watching him unravel. "Talk to me," she said when the silence became unbearable. "About what? How I've doomed us both." His laugh was jagged. "The mate bond complicates everything. My father will sense the change in the contract's energy signature. He'll know something's wrong. How long do we have? Days. Maybe a week if we're lucky." He stopped pacing, bracing his hands against the kitchen counter. The cheap laminate cracked under his grip. "He'll send an executor. Something older than me. Stronger. Can we run? The contract binds you to a 10-meter radius of wherever I am. We can move, but you can't escape. And executors can track contract signatures across continents." His knuckles went white. "There's nowhere to run that they won't find you." Lena pulled her knees up, resting her chin on them. Her chest still burned from where the bond had ignited, She could feel him even now, a presence in the back of her mind that shouldn't be there. His fear, his rage, his desperate, clawing hope that there might be a way out. "The tattoos on your arms," she said suddenly. "I saw them earlier. They moved when you lied to that barista about covering my shift." Kyle went very still. "You noticed that?" "Kind of hard to miss." She tilted her head. "What are they?" He was silent for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he pulled off his jacket, rolled up his sleeves. The tattoos covered every inch of skin from wrist to shoulder. Intricate, layered, impossible. Script in languages she didn't recognize. Symbols that hurt to look at directly. And they were moving. Slowly. Writhing like living things. "Every soul I've collected is written here," he said quietly. "Their names. Their sins. Their final words." He traced one line with his finger, and it glowed faintly red. This was a woman named Sarah, 42 years old, signed a contract to cure her daughter's cancer. "I took her 3 days after the child went into remission." Lena's throat closed. "Did the daughter survive?" "She's 26 now. Married. 2 kids. Doesn't know what her mother sacrificed." His voice was hollow. "That's how it works. The contracts always fulfill the wish. My father isn't a liar. He's just cruel." She climbed off the bed, moved closer. Kyle tensed but didn't retreat. Up close, she could see the tattoos more clearly. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, layered so densely in places that the skin beneath was completely obscured. "This one's recent," she said, pointing to text near his wrist that glowed brighter than the others. 3 months ago. A man who wanted to save his business. I collected him in his office. He was crying." Kale's jaw clenched. The demon half enjoyed it. The angel half screamed. "And I did it anyway, because I'm 3 souls away from freedom." 2 now, Lena corrected softly. "You're not collecting mine." His eyes snapped to hers, and the red was back, bleeding through the gray like ink in water. "You don't understand what you're asking. The bond doesn't make me safe. It makes me more dangerous. I want you now. Not just your soul. All of you." The confession hung between them, raw and terrible. "Show me," she said. "Show you what?" "The demon. The angel. Stop hiding it." She didn't know where the courage came from. Maybe the bond. Maybe exhaustion. "If we're stuck together for however long we have left, I need to see what I'm dealing with." Kyle's breathing went ragged. "You'll run." "I can't. 10-meter radius, remember?" She held his gaze. "Show me." He closed his eyes, took a breath that shuddered through his entire frame, and then he stopped fighting. The change was grotesque and beautiful. His skin became fully translucent, revealing the war beneath. Black veins spread from his heart like poison, pulsing with hunger. But threaded through them were veins of pure gold, fighting back with light that made her eyes water. His eyes opened, split down the middle now, left eye burning red, right eye blazing white gold. When he opened his mouth, she saw teeth too sharp, a tongue too long, and behind him, barely visible like heat shimmer, were wings. One skeletal and black dripping shadow, one feathered and white, shedding light like ash. "This is what I am," he said, voice layered with harmonics that resonated in her bones. Abomination, neither holy nor damned. Rejected by both. Lena's heart hammered against her ribs. Every instinct screamed to run, but the bond in her chest pulled her forward instead. Toward him. Toward the monster. "You're lonely," she whispered. The words broke something in him. His form flickered, almost human again, then monstrous, unable to hold either shape. "Don't," he said, but it came out pleading. "Don't pity me. I don't deserve it. I'm not pitying you. I'm seeing you." She reached out slowly, telegraphing every movement. "Is this why no one touches you? Because they see this? They feel it before they see it. the wrongness. Humans are hardwired to recognize predators. His split eyes tracked her hand as it moved toward his chest. You should feel it too. I do. Her palm pressed over his heart, if he had one. The skin there burned cold and hot simultaneously. But I also feel this. The bond flared. Gold light erupted from where she touched him, racing through the black veins like wildfire. Kyle gasped, body arching. The demon wing thrashed. The angel wing spread wide, stretching toward a heaven that had cast him out. Stop, he choked. You're making it worse. Worse how? The angel half. It's winning. It wants to protect you, mark you, claim you as mine so nothing else can touch you. His hands came up to grip her wrists, but he didn't pull her away. And the demon half wants the same thing for different reasons. They're agreeing for the first time in 200 years, and I can't. His form solidified, fully human now, beautiful and terrible and shaking. The tattoos on his arms were glowing, every single name lit up like Christmas lights. And in the center of his chest, where her hand rested, a new mark was forming, burning itself into his skin in real time. Her name, in script that looked like his, but wasn't. What did you do? He breathed. I don't know. Lena pulled her hand back, but the mark remained, fresh, permanent. What does it mean? It means the bond is solidifying. He stared at his chest in horror. It means I'm marking you as mine whether I want to or not. It means... He looked up, and his eyes were fully human now. Gray, clear, devastated. It means I'm going to get you killed. A sound outside the apartment made them both freeze. Footsteps in the hallway. Slow, deliberate, wrong. Cale's entire body went rigid. He's here. Who? The executor. He grabbed her arm, pulling her behind him. His form flickered, wings manifesting, eyes splitting again. My father sent him already. He knows about the bond. The footsteps stopped outside her door. 3 knocks, polite, civilized. Each one resonated like a bell toll in Lena's chest. Kale Sovereign, a voice called from the other side. Smooth, cultured, absolutely empty of warmth. Open the door. The girl's contract is in violation. I'm here to collect. Kale's wings spread wider, filling the tiny apartment with shadow and light. His body positioned between Lena and the door like a shield made of violence and desperation. Stay behind me, he said, voice layered with harmonics that made the windows rattle. Don't speak. Don't move. Don't even breathe loud. The knocking came again. Patient. Like whoever was outside had all the time in the world. I can smell the bond through the door, Kyle. Fresh, unstable, completely unsanctioned. A pause. Your father is very disappointed. Kale's hands clenched into fists. The tattoos on his arms writhed faster now, names glowing and dimming in waves. The contract is under review for violation of informed consent. You have no authority to collect until arbitration is complete. Laughter from the other side. Soft, terrible. Is that the defense you're going with? That she didn't understand what she signed? The doorknob began to turn. Lock be damned. Desperation is not coercion, Kale. You know this. You've used it 997 times. The door swung open. The thing standing in the hallway wore a man shape the way a snake wore shed skin. Tall, slender, dressed in a gray suit that looked expensive and wrong. Its face was handsome in a way that hurt to look at. Too symmetrical, too perfect, like a computer's rendering of human beauty. But its eyes gave it away. Solid black from lid to lid. No white, no iris, just endless void. Hello, Lena, it said, and her name in its mouth sounded like a tombstone inscription. I'm Azael. I'll be handling your collection this evening. Kale moved before Lena could process the words. He lunged forward, and where his hand struck Azael's chest, light and shadow exploded. The executor stumbled back into the hallway, suit smoking, but it was smiling. Still fighting, Azael said almost fondly. After all these years, it's admirable, really. Pointless, but admirable. Get out. Kale's demon wing lashed out, shadows solidifying into blades. She's under my protection. She's under contract to your father. Your protection is irrelevant. Azael straightened his tie, the burn marks on his chest already healing. Step aside, or I'll go through you. Lena felt the bond surge in her chest, felt Kale's rage and terror pouring through it like acid. The angel half of him was screaming to protect. The demon half was howling to possess. Both wanted the same thing: keep her alive, keep her his. She stepped out from behind him. Don't, Kale snapped, grabbing for her, but she ducked under his arm. You said the contract requires informed consent, she said to Azael, proud that her voice didn't shake. I'm dyslexic. I couldn't read the terms properly. That makes it void. Azael tilted its head, considering. An interesting argument. Do you have documentation? Medical records from childhood, school accommodations, test results. She'd memorized this answer while Kyle paced. Had been preparing it, even though she'd hoped they'd have more time. I can prove I couldn't comprehend what I signed. Comprehension is subjective, Azael countered. You understood you were signing something in exchange for money. You understood it was binding. The specifics are immaterial to intent. That's not how informed consent works. That's exactly how demonic law works. Azael took a step forward, and Kyle immediately blocked its path. But I'll humor you. Present your evidence to arbitration. You have 72 hours. And until then, Kale's voice was dangerous. Until then, she remains under the original contract terms. 30 days. Countdown continues. Azael's black eyes fixed on Lena. But the bond complicates things. If Kale can't complete the collection, someone else must. And bonds make consumption rather messy. You're not touching her. I don't need to touch her. Azael smiled, and it was worse than the void eyes. I just need to wait for the bond to drive you insane. Give it a week, maybe 2. You'll lose control. The demon side will win, and you'll consume her yourself. The words hit Kale like physical blows. His form flickered. Human, monstrous, human again, unable to stabilize. That won't happen, he said, but it sounded like he was trying to convince himself. It always happens. Azael turned to leave, pausing in the doorway. I've seen dozens of mate bonds between our kind and humans. They all end the same way. The Nephilim tries to fight it, tries to stay in control. Then one day the hunger wins, and they wake up with blood on their hands and an empty husk in their arms. Its eyes found Kale again. 72 hours. Prove the contract is void, or accept that you're going to be the one who kills her. The door closed. The silence that followed was suffocating. Kale stood frozen, staring at where Azael had been. His breathing came in ragged gasps. The tattoos on his arms were going haywire now, glowing and dimming so fast it looked like a strobe light. And his hands were shaking so violently he had to clench them into fists to make it stop. Kale, Lena said softly. Don't. He didn't turn around. Don't come near me right now. It was lying, trying to get in your head. It wasn't lying. His voice cracked. Mate bonds between Nephilim and humans are unstable. The human soul isn't strong enough to anchor us. Eventually the bond starts to drain them, and when we feel them dying through the connection, the demon side panics, tries to consume them completely to keep them alive. But you said yourself you've been fighting both sides for 200 years. You know how to maintain control. Not with you. He finally turned, and his eyes were doing that horrible split thing again. Red and gold at war. The bond amplifies everything. Every protective instinct, every possessive urge, every hunger. He took a step back, then another, until he hit the wall. I can feel you right now. Your heartbeat, your fear, the warmth of your blood moving through your veins. And part of me wants to taste it. Lena's breath caught. Which part? Both. The confession came out broken. That's what you don't understand. The angel doesn't want to consume you any less than the demon. It just has different reasons. One wants to own you, the other wants to merge with you. Same result. You disappear. She should run, should scream, should do anything except take a step toward him. But the bond in her chest was pulling like a fishhook behind her sternum, and his pain was her pain, bleeding through the connection until she couldn't tell where hers ended and his began. Then we have 72 hours to find another way, she said. There is no other way. Even if we prove the contract is void, the bond remains. It'll kill you slowly or I'll kill you fast. Those are the options. No. She crossed the room, watching him tense with every step. We find a third option. We always have. That's what we've been doing since you walked into that bar. Lena... She grabbed his face with both hands, forcing him to look at her. His skin was fever hot now, burning through the cold. The split eyes stared down at her. One weeping light, one weeping shadow. I don't care what that thing said. I don't care about statistics or precedent or fate. Her voice shook but held. You've spent 200 years being a weapon for your father. Maybe it's time you fought for yourself instead. Something in his expression shattered. The demon wing thrashed once, violent. The angel wing wrapped around them both, feathers solid enough to brush her shoulders. And then his forehead dropped to hers, breath ghosting across her lips. You're going to destroy me, he whispered. Good, she whispered back. Maybe we destroy each other. Maybe that's the only way out. His hands came up to cover hers where they pressed against his face. For a moment, they just breathed together. The bond hummed between them, not painful now, but present, constant, undeniable. Then his phone rang. Cale pulled back, frowning, pulled the device from his pocket, stared at the screen. His face went white. What? Lena asked. It's my father, he said. He wants to meet. Tonight. Both of us. The address Kyle's father sent led to a building that shouldn't exist. Lena stared up at the obsidian tower rising 40 stories into the night sky, every window dark, every surface reflecting nothing. It looked like someone had cut a hole in reality and filled it with condensed shadow. Around them, the city continued as normal. Cars passing, pedestrians walking. But no one looked at the building. Their eyes slid right past it, registering nothing. Glamour, Cale said quietly. His hand was wrapped around her wrist, keeping her within the mandatory 10 meters. Humans can't perceive it unless they have reason to. You only see it because of the contract bond. What is this place? My father's seat of power. Where he processes contracts. Where he keeps his collection. Cale's jaw was tight enough to shatter. I grew up here. Haven't been back in 50 years. They'd taken a cab in silence, Kyle vibrating with tension the entire ride. He'd changed into a black suit, pulled his hair back, transformed himself into something cold and controlled. But Lena could feel the terror bleeding through the bond, could taste it like copper on her tongue. We don't have to do this, she said. Yes, we do. Refusing a direct summons is grounds for immediate execution, for both of us. He finally looked at her, and his eyes were fully human now, gray and exhausted. Don't speak unless he asks you a direct question. Don't look him in the eyes. Don't accept anything he offers. Cale, promise me. The desperation in his voice made her chest ache. I promise. They entered through doors that opened without being touched. The lobby was cavernous and empty, floor made of black marble that reflected their images like dark water. Their footsteps echoed too loudly. At the far end, a single elevator waited, doors already open. As they rode up in silence, Lena watched Kyle's reflection in the polished steel walls, watched him pull the mask tighter, bury the fear deeper, become the weapon his father had forged. By the time the elevator stopped at the 40th floor, he was unrecognizable. Cold, distant, dangerous. The doors opened onto an office that defied physics. The space was too large for the building's footprint. Walls stretched into impossible distances. The ceiling soared cathedral high, but instead of sky, it showed writhing darkness, punctuated by pinpricks of light that might have been stars or might have been screaming faces. And at the center, behind a desk made of something that looked disturbingly like bone, sat a man who made Azael look human by comparison. Kyle's father was beautiful the way a knife was beautiful. Dangerous. Perfect. Wrong. He wore a white suit that contrasted sharply with black hair and blacker eyes. When he smiled, Lena felt her stomach drop. "My son," he said, voice smooth as silk over razors. "How long has it been?" 53 years. 7 months. 12 days. Kale's voice was flat. Emotionless. "You've been counting. How sweet." The archdemon's eyes shifted to Lena. And this must be the complication. Everything in Lena screamed to look away, to run, but she forced herself to meet his gaze for 3 seconds before dropping her eyes. Long enough to show she wasn't completely cowed. Short enough not to challenge. "Lena Castellano," the archdemon continued. 26 years old. Orphaned. Drowning in debt. Desperate enough to sell her soul without reading the contract. He leaned back in his chair. "You're exactly the type my son excels at collecting. So imagine my surprise when instead of completing the harvest, he develops a mate bond." "The contract is invalid," Kale said. "She's dyslexic. Couldn't comprehend the terms. That violates informed consent protocols." "Informed consent." The archdemon laughed, and it sounded like breaking glass. "How very modern of you. Tell me, Kale, in your 997 previous collections, how many times did you verify comprehensive understanding?" Kyle's silence was damning. "Exactly." The archdemon stood, moving around the desk with predatory grace. "You've never cared about informed consent. You cared about quotas, about earning your freedom, about escaping me." He stopped in front of them, and Lena felt the temperature plummet. "But now you've found something you want more than freedom. How inconvenient." "I'm following protocol," Kale said through gritted teeth. "Requesting formal arbitration on grounds of—" "Oh, I'll give you arbitration. 72 hours to present evidence. Very fair. Very by the book." The archdemon circled them slowly. "But we both know what will happen. The contract will be upheld. You'll be ordered to complete the collection. And you won't be able to do it because of this unfortunate bond." He stopped in front of Lena. Up close, she could see his true form flickering beneath the human veneer. Something massive. Ancient. Wrong in ways that made her brain hurt. "Do you know what happens when a Nephilim mate bond is left unconsummated?" he asked her directly. She shook her head, not trusting her voice. "The human withers. Usually takes 6 months, sometimes a year if they're strong." His smile was gentle and horrifying. "They waste away while the Nephilim watches, feeling every moment of their death through the connection. Maddening, really. By the end, most Nephilim beg to be allowed to consume their mate just to end the suffering." "That won't happen," Kale said. "No?" The archdemon turned to his son. "Then what's your solution? Break the bond? Can't be done. Consummate it properly? That requires marking her soul, which the contract forbids since her soul is already promised to me. Let it deteriorate naturally. We both know you don't have that kind of strength." Each word was a carefully placed knife. Lena felt Kale's control fracturing through the bond, felt his rage building, the demon side rising. "There's always a loophole," Kale said. "There has to be. Not this time." The archdemon moved back to his desk, settling into his chair like a king on a throne. "I designed this contract specifically for you. After 50 years of your rebellion, your refusal to visit, your pathetic attempts at redemption, I wanted to see if you'd finally break, if you'd finally embrace what you are." Understanding crashed over Lena like ice water. You knew he'd develop a bond." "I suspected. Mate bonds are rare but not impossible." and my son has always had a weakness for lost causes." The archdemon's smile widened. What I didn't anticipate was how strong the bond would be, how fast it would solidify. That's been delightful to watch. Cale was shaking now, the tattoos on his arms glowing erratically, form flickering between human and something else. "So this was all a trap," Lena said. "From the beginning, the contract, the timing, everything. My dear girl, everything is a trap when you're desperate enough to walk into it." The archdemon steepled his fingers. "But I'm not entirely cruel. I'll give you both a choice." "What choice?" Cale's voice was barely human. "Option 1. I nullify the contract. Lena goes free. But you remain mine for eternity. No chance of earning freedom. You collect souls until the stars burn out." The air left Lena's lungs. "Option 2. You complete the collection. Take her soul. Break the bond in the process, which will likely destroy you. But if you survive, you're free. 3 souls completed. Contract fulfilled." "Those aren't options," Cale said. "Those are executions." "Yes." The archdemon's smile was radiant. "But you get to choose who dies. Her fast, or you slow. What's it going to be, my son?" Cale's form exploded outward. Wings manifesting, eyes splitting, the carefully maintained control shattering completely. He lunged across the desk, hands going for his father's throat. The archdemon caught him casually, held him suspended in midair with one hand. "Still so much fight in you," he said almost proudly. "Good, you'll need it." He threw Cale backward. Lena caught him before he hit the ground, his weight nearly taking her down. 72 hours. Then you choose, her or you, love or freedom. He snapped his fingers. The world lurched. Lena found herself back in her apartment, on the floor, Cale's weight on top of her. He was gasping, form cycling rapidly, unable to stabilize. The bond between them was screaming, hemorrhaging pain in both directions. "I'm going to kill him," Cale choked out. "I'm going to rip him apart. I'm going to—" "Cale." She grabbed his face, forcing him to focus. "Look at me. Stay here." His eyes locked on hers, split, bleeding, desperate. "I need you to listen," she said. "Can you hear me?" He nodded fractionally. "There's a third option," she whispered. "There's always a third option. We just have to find it." They had 48 hours left when Lena found the answer in the place they'd both overlooked. Kyle hadn't slept in 3 days, hadn't eaten, had barely moved from the floor where he sat surrounded by ancient texts, his fingers bleeding from turning pages too fast, too desperately. The apartment smelled like ozone and desperation. Every surface was covered in research, demonic law, angelic doctrine, contract precedents spanning millennia. All of it useless. Lena watched him from the bed, feeling his exhaustion through the bond like weight pressing on her chest. The connection between them had grown stronger each day. She could taste his emotions now, feel his thoughts brushing against hers like whispers, and underneath it all, the hunger. Constant. Growing. He was starving himself to keep from consuming her. "Kyle," she said softly. "Not now." His voice was raw, broken. "There has to be something. Some precedent. Some loophole we haven't found." "Kyle, look at me." He didn't. Couldn't. His hands were shaking as he turned another page, and she saw the veins in his arms pulsing erratically. Black swallowing gold, gold fighting back. A war he was losing. Lena climbed off the bed, moved to where he sat, knelt in front of him, put her hands over his, stilling them. "I know what we have to do," she said. His eyes finally lifted. They were more red than gray now, the demon side winning inch by inch. "Don't. The bond is killing you. Slowly. I can feel it." She pressed her palm to his chest, over the mark that bore her name. "Every hour you resist consuming me, you fracture a little more. Eventually there won't be anything left to resist with. I don't care." His hands came up to grip her wrists, gentle despite the tremor. I'm not killing you. I'd rather shatter completely. What if you didn't have to kill me? The words came out steadier than she felt. What if there was a way to complete the bond without breaking the contract? Cale went very still. There isn't. Your father said consummating the bond requires marking my soul, but the contract says my soul belongs to him. She took a breath. What if we mark something else? Lena, hear me out. She pulled one hand free, pressing it over her heart. Souls are just consciousness, right? The essential self. But what if we bonded something deeper? Something the contract doesn't cover because it's not technically part of the soul. Understanding dawned in his eyes. Horror and hope warring. Free will. Free will, she confirmed. The one thing demonic contracts can't touch. The one thing that has to be given, never taken. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I give you my choice, Cale. Not my soul. My agency. My will. I choose you. Freely. Completely. That's insane. But his hands were shaking harder now. We don't even know if it would work. Bonding to free will instead of soul. There's no precedent. It could kill us both. Or it could be the loophole. She leaned closer, until their foreheads touched. Your father designed the contract to trap you, but he couldn't have predicted this. Couldn't have predicted me choosing this. Choosing you. Through the bond, she felt his resistance crumbling. Felt the desperate, clawing need he'd been suppressing. The angel side screaming to protect her through union. The demon side howling to possess. Both wanting the same impossible thing. If this goes wrong, he breathed, if I lose control during the marking, then we go down fighting. She pulled back enough to meet his eyes. Together, that's the third option. Not your death or mine. Both of us transformed into something new. Cale stared at her like she was speaking prophecy. Like she'd just rewritten reality. His hands came up to frame her face, touch featherlight despite the power vibrating through him. You're either the bravest person I've ever met, or the most foolish. Can't it be both? Her attempt at levity fell flat. They both knew what she was offering, what it would cost. Tell me how it works. The marking. His jaw clenched. It's a blood ritual. I mark you with my essence, part demon, part angel. It burns through the connection, restructuring everything it touches. If we're bonding to your free will instead of your soul, I'd have to anchor the mark there, in the part of you that chooses. And if it works, then you'd be mine, not possessed, not consumed, but fundamentally changed, marked permanently. You'd share my longevity, my abilities, my curse. His thumbs brushed her cheekbones. You'd never be fully human again. I haven't felt fully human since I signed that contract. She covered his hands with hers. Do it, before I lose my nerve. Lena, before your father's deadline, before Azael comes back, before you fracture completely. She kissed his palm, feeling him shudder. Mark me, make me yours. Let me choose this. The last thread of Cale's control snapped. He surged forward, mouth crashing against hers. The kiss was violent and desperate and tasted like smoke and lightning. His hands tangled in her hair, pulling her closer, and she felt his form flicker. Wings manifesting, skin going translucent. When he pulled back, his eyes were fully split, red and gold warring for dominance. This will hurt, he warned, voice layered with harmonics. Everything worth having hurts. He bit his own wrist, blood welling up black and gold mixed together. Then he pressed it to her mouth. Drink. Seal the bond. The taste hit her tongue, bitter and sweet and wrong and right. Power flooded her system like liquid fire. She gasped, choking, but forced herself to swallow. Once, twice, 3 times. Cale's free hand pressed over her heart. By blood given freely, by choice made consciously, by will offered without coercion. His voice resonated with power that made the windows crack. I mark you, not soul, not flesh, but the spark that makes you you, the part that chooses. the part that cannot be taken. Pain exploded through Lena's chest. Not physical, deeper, like something fundamental was being rewritten at the molecular level. She screamed, back arching, and felt Cale catch her, hold her. His own scream joining hers as the bond restructured. Through the agony, she felt it happening, felt her free will crystallizing into something solid, something that could be marked, and felt Cale's essence burning itself into that crystallized choice, not consuming, not destroying, becoming part of it. The tattoos on his arms lit up like flares, every name glowing, and then one by one, they began to fade, not disappearing, transforming, the black ink shifting to gold, the chains of his servitude breaking as the bond rewrote the rules. Lena's vision went white. When it cleared, she was on the floor. Kyle collapsed beside her, both of them gasping, shaking, fundamentally altered. She looked at her hands. They looked normal, but when she concentrated, she could see veins of gold threading beneath her skin, could feel power humming in her bones, could sense Kyle not just through the bond, but as part of her own consciousness. Did it work? She rasped. Kyle pushed himself up on shaking arms, looked at his chest. The tattoos that had covered every inch were now gold instead of black, and in the center, her name blazed like a brand. I don't know, he admitted. I feel different, lighter, like something broke. He met her eyes. But we won't know if it worked until... The apartment door exploded inward. Azael stood in the doorway, black eyes wide with something that might have been shock. What have you done? It breathed. Azael stared at them like it was witnessing the impossible. Cale pushed himself to his feet, swaying. His wings were fully manifested now, but different. The skeletal demon wing had lightened to charcoal gray. The angel wing had dulled from brilliant white to cream. Both moved in sync for the first time, no longer fighting each other. The contract, Azael said slowly, taking a step back. It's still intact. I can feel it. But it's empty, hollow. Its black eyes fixed on Lena. Where is your soul? Lena stood, legs shaking, and felt power flow through her that hadn't been there before. Not magic, something else. Choice made manifest. Still mine. He didn't take it. Then what did he mark? Her will. Cale's voice was steady now, grounded. Free will can't be contracted. Can't be owned. We found the loophole. Understanding dawned on Azael's face, followed immediately by rage. You bonded to something outside the contract's parameters. That's not possible. Free will isn't a tangible essence. You can't mark what doesn't have form. We just did. Kyle moved in front of Lena, protective. The bond crystallized her agency, made it real, gave it shape. And I marked that instead of her soul. Your father will never accept this. Azael's form flickered, showing something massive and terrible underneath. He'll tear you both apart. The contract specified her soul. You failed to deliver. No. Lena's voice rang out clearer than she expected. The contract specified my body and soul for 30 days. He got my body. But my soul was never his to take because I never understood what I was signing. The dyslexia clause voids that part. And even if it didn't, Cale added, I completed my obligation. I collected what I could legally claim. Her free will, given consciously. That satisfies the contract's core intent. Acquisition of essence through informed consent. Azael's laugh was jagged. You think your father will care about technicalities? He wanted you broken. Wanted you to choose between freedom and love. You chose neither. You rewrote the rules. Then let him challenge it. Cale's wings spread wider. Let him bring it to arbitration. Let the council decide if we violated the letter of the law or just the spirit. The council. Azael went very still. You'd invoke the council, risk exposing your father's manipulation. The fact that he designed a contract specifically to torture his own son. Yes. Silence stretched between them, thick with threat. Then Azael's form solidified back into its human guise. It straightened its tie, smoothed its jacket. "I'll relay your position," it said finally. "But understand, you've made an enemy of one of the most powerful archdemons in existence. Both of you. There will be consequences." "There are always consequences," Lena said. "At least these ones we chose." Azael looked at her for a long moment. Something almost like respect flickered in those void eyes. Then it turned and walked out, leaving the shattered door hanging open. Cale waited until its footsteps faded before he allowed himself to collapse. Lena caught him, surprised by her own strength. The marking had changed her. She could feel it in every cell. Not supernatural power. Something subtler. Certainty. Unshakable conviction in her own agency. "Did we just declare war on your father?" she asked. "Probably." Kyle's head rested against her shoulder. His breathing was ragged but steady. "But we're alive, both of us. That's more than I thought possible 3 days ago." They sank to the floor together, backs against the wall. Through the bond, Lena felt his exhaustion, his relief, his terror at what came next. But underneath it all, something new. Hope. Fragile and tentative, but real. "What happens now?" she whispered. "Now we wait. The council will summon us, examine the bond, review the contract." He turned his head to look at her. "They might rule in our favor, might declare the marking legitimate, or they might decide we violated demonic law and execute us both. Great, more waiting to find out if we die." She laughed, slightly hysterical. "At least it's consistent." Cale's hand found hers, fingers interlacing. The touch no longer burned, no longer froze. It was just warm, human, real. "I need you to understand something," he said. "What I marked in you, your free will, it's permanent. You'll always have agency, always have choice. But you're tied to me now, connected. If I'm hunted, you're hunted. If I fall, you fall." "I know." She squeezed his hand. "I chose that. Remember? You chose it when you thought we had no other options. Now that we've survived, I need to know. Do you regret it?" The question hung between them. Lena thought about her old life. The debt. The exhaustion. The slow drowning. She thought about what she'd become. Marked. Changed. Bound to something neither angel nor demon, but somewhere in between. "No," she said finally. "I don't regret it. For the first time in years, I feel like I actually chose something. Not because I was desperate or scared or out of options. I chose you because I wanted to." She met his eyes. "That matters." Cale's expression shattered into something raw, vulnerable. He pulled her closer, pressing his forehead to hers. "I spent 200 years as a weapon," he breathed. "Collecting souls, destroying lives, hating every second but too afraid to stop. And then you walked into that bar, signed that contract, and somehow became the first person in 2 centuries to see past the monster." "I see the monster," Lena corrected gently. "I just also see the man fighting it. That's who I chose." He kissed her then. Soft, reverent. Nothing like the desperate claiming during the marking. This was gratitude and grief and hope all tangled together. When they pulled apart, dawnlight was filtering through the broken doorway. A new day. The first day of whatever came next. "We should probably fix that door," Lena said. Cale laughed. Genuine, surprised. "Probably." Neither of them moved. They sat there in the ruins of her apartment, marked and bound and hunted, watching the sunrise paint gold across the walls. Outside, the city woke up. People went to work, lived their lives, completely unaware that 2 people had just rewritten the rules of demonic contracts through nothing but stubborn refusal to accept the options given. Lena's phone buzzed. A notification from her bank. The second half of the payment, $5,000, had just cleared. Apparently, even rewiring reality didn't void electronic transfers. I should probably give that back, she said. Keep it. Kyle's arm was around her shoulders now. Solid. Real. Consider it payment for services rendered. You did technically fulfill the contract, just not the way anyone expected. Services rendered, she snorted. That's one way to describe completely upending demonic law. We don't know if we upended anything yet. The council might rule against us. Then we run. They'll find us. Then we fight. We might lose. Then we lose together. She turned to face him fully. I'm done accepting that things have to be the way they've always been. You collected 997 souls because that was the rule, the system. But systems can be broken. Rules can be rewritten. Your father thought he'd trapped you. Instead, he gave us the pieces to build something new. Kyle stared at her like she'd just handed him the keys to a prison he'd forgotten was locked. You really believe that? I have to. She touched the place on her chest where his mark burned beneath her skin. Because the alternative is accepting that we're doomed. And I didn't survive this long by accepting doom. Through the bond, she felt his response. Not words, just pure emotion. Gratitude. Wonder. And underneath it all, something that might have been love. Too new to name. Too fragile to speak aloud. But there. Whatever happens next, Kale said. Whatever the council decides. Thank you. For seeing me. For choosing me. For being brave enough to rewrite the rules. Thank you for being worth rewriting them for. They sat in the golden morning light. Two impossible beings bound by choice rather than fate. And waited for the world to catch up to what they'd done. The door might be broken. The future might be uncertain. An archdemon might be planning their destruction. But for the first time in either of their lives, they weren't alone. Weren't drowning. Weren't weapons or victims or lost causes. They were just two people who'd looked at an impossible situation and decided to create a third option. And somehow, impossibly, they'd survived.